Oh, hello everyone. I hope you're all well. It's Susie here from Esoteric Trading Solutions. It's Crypto Granny. Hope you're doing good. You're looking after your parents, you're looking after yourself, you're looking after your family and your friends. You're looking after your beautiful pussycats. I just love pussycats. There's a thing on YouTube called the man with the pussycats, and it comes from Turkey. And this fellow plays this amazing music, and he's got these stray cats that he started looking after, and they're just so loving. Honestly, I believe cats have special powers, and they come from the ancient Egyptian times, so there's certainly something there. I love dogs. I love all animals. Also, please be kind to the world, just to try and make this a better place. So today, I thought I would look at XRP, and sort of the title of this is basically to work out, and I'm not going to go through all the fundamentals of XRP or anything like that. We know the fundamentals of XRP and Ripple, but it was to look at basically why I believe that XRP is not going up, and why does it continue to underperform other cryptocurrency assets, even though we know that other cryptocurrency assets don't have the fundamentals that XRP and Ripple have. Also, I have touched on this before. How long does it take for something to go mainstream? And I think that's really important, particularly with XRP and Ripple, simply because of the technology that Ripple and XRP have. They have technology that no other cryptocurrency out there has. I know there's a few YouTubers out there saying that that Stellar's like XRP and Ripple they're not. Stellar basically is a fork of Ripple's technology, but it doesn't, as I said before, it doesn't have the hardware, and it doesn't have the network, and it certainly doesn't have the ecosystem that Ripple and XRP have. So if anything, it's nowhere near XRP and Ripple as far as I'm concerned. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a glass of water. I'm very thirsty. So this crypto grandmother with bells on is essentially going to tell you why I think XRP and Ripple continue to underperform. And I think we all, as holders of XRP, just have to keep a steady head and basically not listen to all the negativity, and essentially just need to stay and keep with the facts, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's pretty much all we can do at this time. Also, look, I do invest in other coins. I have not given up on my faith with XRP, but again, it's always good not to have all your coins in one basket. Don't get me wrong though, not that I'm saying that we are, at the end of the day, not going to do well with XRP we are, but I do think it will take time, just simply because the community, the crypto community, which is less than, it's 1% of the world, and less than 1% of that crypto community doesn't understand the technology that Ripple has and what that technology can do. And I think also you have your dissenters out there, many dissenters that are Bitcoin maximalists that are literally, how can I say, bang their own drum, always putting Ripple and XRP down, irrespective of there being thousands and thousands of coins out there and projects which are verging on and are scams. So the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people that support XRP and Ripple, and these dissenters, whether they're in the press or whether they're on the YouTube or whatever, get mileage when they actually put down Ripple / XRP, okay? They get noticed, right? If they were talking about some other little cryptocurrency like Verge that's had 3 hacks and, is more centralized, or Neo, which is centralized, or EOS, which is centralized, or any of the other cryptocurrencies, even Bitcoin, is centralized. Or even, someone at cryptocurrency that has a node where, it could be proof of stake, but the stakeholder has more than any other node, which effectively is centralized. You never see that in the press, because honestly, the press are not educated either. And the press, the crypto press, they just follow each other, just like a lot of the YouTubers do. So this is what I'm saying. We need to keep, a steady head when we talk about XRP and Ripple. Okay, XRP, yes, has been the worst performing crypto in the last quarter. even though we know there's fundamental growth, it does little to boost this crypto XRP. Even though when we see other cryptos out there that are just absolute garbology, they have one little story, oh, they got a client, and before we know it, you know, the cryptocurrency price of the thing goes up 40, 50%, right? For no rhyme or reason, one little client, not a network of clients like XRP/Ripple, but just one little client, okay? And I think it's because there are so many dissenters out there that all people seem to be doing is focusing on the negative of Ripple and XRP, not the great stuff, but the negative. And for other cryptocurrencies, and this is fact, I'm not making this stuff up, for other cryptocurrencies, they seem to focus on the positive. And yet when you look into so many cryptocurrencies the way I have, there are so many things wrong with other cryptocurrencies that, you know, are blamed on Ripple XRP, and yet it's not the case, okay? You know, Ripple's technology's never had a hack. Other cryptocurrencies are constantly hacked, okay? You know, people call XRP centralized or Ripple because, you know, it has over 1,000 nodes. I mean, that's absolute bunkum. It's garbology. When we look at other cryptocurrencies like Neo that have 8 nodes, more centralized than anything, and yet no one talks about the centralization of Neo. No one. You know, or the centralization of, you know, the stakeholders, or the centralization of the administration function, or the centralization of IOTA, for example, the admin people. 1/3 of the transactions are pushed through by the admin people. Who talks about the centralization, for example, of other cryptocurrencies? They talk about Ripple and XRP because they can get mileage and they get views. And that's pretty much what it's about, okay? And that's, you know, and we need to keep, you know, a firm head on this. Now, I'll give you an example of this, right? You know, this guy here, some investment advisor, right, published something, and he believed that, you know, XRP, can't go up because it's centralized. And yet, how can we say the centralization of the token is centralized when 85% of the XRP holders, you know, there's 1.7 million holders in XRP that hold a balance of 1,000, right? $1,000 worth. And yet when we look at other coins, you know, XRP has 1.7 million holders. How can that be centralized when thousands of coins are lucky to have, you know, 20,000 holders, okay? Why don't you, Preston, whatever your name is, you know, focus on all those thousands of coins that have 20,000 holders and have maybe 8 whales that own 40% of the issue, the ICO issue. No one focuses on other coins, and it just drives me crazy, okay? I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of cryptocurrencies and reviews, and anyone that follows my Patreon, and it's only $45 a month or $35 US or 45, and you'll see how many crypto reviews I do in a week. And I've looked at hundreds and hundreds, and no one focuses on any other cryptocurrency except XRP and says it's centralized because of the escrow. You know, again, it's garbology. XRP has more holders than anyone, 1.7 million. And yet there's thousands of cryptocurrencies, again, that only have 20,000 holders. Now, guys, get yourself a cup of coffee because this will go on for a while. And it's all facts, not fiction. Everything I say, because I know my stuff so well. And you have all these dissenters that are always hammering Ripple and XRP to get mileage. Now, this guy here, what he said is just totally wrong. So look up the facts, okay? So what's happening here? You know, with XRP, when we compare it to other cryptocurrencies, you know, we just get constant negativity about XRP and Ripple, and the coin seems to react to that, the price. It never seems to go up with any of the amazing fundamentals, and it's just the market believes it, and there's so much negative press, and there's so much negative, stuff out there, and people have no idea the true technology, and they don't understand the true technology. So even high profile players like Coinbase in the past, or Gemini, Coinbase in the past refused to, put XRP on their cryptocurrency exchange. Remember, they were going to put on Ethereum Classic, if I take you back, which had hacks, and yet they wouldn't put on XRP. Remember that? They were going to put on Verge, which had hacks. Any of these other cryptocurrencies that are totally centralized and had hacks, and yet they were still going to be put on Coinbase over and above XRP, because Coinbase, the owner of Coinbase, not naming any names, was a Bitcoin maximalist. Now we see Gemini and the twins doing the same thing, not putting XRP on their exchange because, they have vested interests. They're a Bitcoin maximalist. They hold Bitcoin. So they just want Bitcoin to go up. This is like a football team, right? That's on the bottom of the ladder, XRP, and later in the, a couple of years it's on the top, and that'll be XRP, okay? But there are just so many people that, have no idea about the technology and the use case for XRP and the technology of Ripple technology, okay? And that's the thing. But they focus on it because they get mileage and they get views, right? But they don't focus on the scams and the hacks out there where so many coins, I said, have been hacked. The technology is crap. It's garbology. If the technology of a project gets hacked, regardless of whether you have your coins, on a Ledger Nano S or an X, it doesn't matter. You can still lose your coins or your tokens because the hackers can go into the ecosystem of the technology and literally take your coins, okay? And this is how inept the cryptocurrency market is, and the lack of understanding. This market has more problems. You could lose your money so quick in terms of Jack Robinson. It's the hardest market of all markets, right, put together, whether it be equity, fixed interest, debt markets, credit markets, foreign exchange, and I've done them all. And yet all the retail element is in the cryptocurrency exchange markets, where there are so many scams and people have lost millions and millions of dollars worldwide. And yet you've got the retail mums and dads and the young 25-year-old bucks in this market that don't know anything. And it just never ceases to amaze me. And yet the 25-year-old bucks and the middle-aged people, or, the generation that's my generation, or even the 45-year-olds don't want to pay for anything, which again never ceases to amaze me, because there are so many risks of losing your money in this market, and given the way the market is and having to learn so much stuff, you can lose your money as quick as saying Jack Robinson, and yet people don't want to pay for it. I find that amazing. And yet they listen to so many YouTubers and they read so much stuff that's just totally incorrect, okay? It is just wrong. They don't even read the white papers, the technical white papers. They don't test the technology or anything, okay? Just wrong. And that's the problem. Ripple and XRP are just totally misunderstood in every way. So what we find is people criticize something they just don't understand. And you know what? And it's also easier to criticize something you just don't understand. It's a bit like racism. If you don't understand another race, you might become racist because you just don't understand them, right? People are very easy to criticize things they don't understand, particularly if they get more mileage. And this is where we're at with XRP. It's like idiots out there saying that XRP will go to zero, and maybe it will. But the thing is, it doesn't mean it's correct. There's an old saying, right? And I love these old sayings. Generation Y wouldn't have a clue, or the other generation, whatever. But yeah, I'm an Xer, probably one of the earliest Xers. People know the price of everything, right? They know the price of everything, but they know the value of nothing. You know, I've gone into op shops and, you know, I found, you know, a mug from the 1770s, you know, it had 20 cents on it, you know, had a price of 20 cents and the value of that thing was worth a fortune. But this is my point. People know the price of everything, but they know the value of nothing. And they don't understand how to value XRP. Okay? Now look at it practically. How can something be worth zero? And we have the idiots out there that it's just garbology. I'm not going to name their names. How can they say XRP is worth zero when if you use XRP with Ripple in your business, you save 70 cents of costs in the dollar, which is like giving me back 70 cents of tax or 70 cents of revenue. You're giving me back 70 cents of income, right? So how can something, look at it logically, be worth zero? It just doesn't make any sort of sense. Excuse the pun, right? So the press are like sheep, right? Because they don't know anything. They all follow each other and write the same garbology. You know, a lot of the YouTubers, the dissenters against XRP and Ripple, don't know anything either because they don't understand the technology and they look at no other coin or no other crypto that is more scammy and more centralized and the technology doesn't work. So the press doesn't do its job and the dissenters of XRP don't do their job because they don't look at the 3,000 or 4,000 other crypto projects where 99% of them are scams, right? And that's the thing, because they're just too lazy, right? And if I do an XRP video, I'm going to get more views than anything else, right? So for me to get everyone to watch me, you know, the 1.7 million holders, all I have to do is say, hey, XRP is a scam, even though I don't know anything about it or the technology. You see what I'm saying? Where, you know, again, you know, I've tested XRP, I've tested Ripple, you know, the technology is amazing, okay? Amazing. So all I can say is there are powerful negative forces out there that, you know, definitely want to keep XRP, the cryptocurrency, weak, right? And, you know, when we have high profile people like this at Coinbase or Gemini that are basically Bitcoin maximalists, and we've seen other Bitcoin maximalists out there, which I'm not even going to talk about, that have big mouths and don't know anything about anything and don't have the background of experience to even talk about settlement systems. You know, they've never dealt with SWIFT, the legacy system, you know, that takes forever, you know, to settle foreign currency globally, you know, and foreign currency that's not even liquid, right? Which, you know, Ripple, the technology can settle foreign currency anywhere within 3 seconds. Not like SWIFT where it could take 21 days, for heaven's sakes. So then we also get to the situation of the valuation of XRP. And again, I say this, everyone knows the price of XRP, but they don't know how to value it, right? And when we talk about valuation models in cryptocurrency, and I did a course on this, which is on Udemy, there are so many different valuation models for financial assets, okay? And you as the valuation person need to pick the appropriate model to make sense of a valuation. It is a technical art, okay? Honestly, and there's so much people don't understand in this market and they just think they can wing it, you know, getting on one, you know, coin or token that goes through the moon, right? They think they don't have to know anything. And that's just being lazy, seriously. You know, there's market cap valuation, relative value valuations, network value transactions, Metcalfe law, equation of exchanges, discounted cash flow with terminal valuations or not. I'm not going to go into all this stuff. I've got a big course on this, right? You know, there's fundamental valuations. There's all different types of evaluations, right? And again, you know, people don't know how to value the Ripple XRP ecosystem because it is complex. But the thing is, all this ecosystem has a value, okay? It all has a value. It all works together to basically settle things instantly. Also, they have a platform to do ICOs, for example. Also they make investments in other companies, which has value, right? In other cryptocurrencies that have value. Also they could create their own exchange, right? Also they could create their own bank. Also they're creating their own products, right? They're in competition with YouTube, all sorts of things, which I'm not going to go into, but this is the value of Ripple and XRP. But again, people know the price of everything, but they don't know the value of anything, right? And then it comes this question, which I have said in other YouTubes, right, in the past. How long does it take for something to become mainstream where people understand the technology? And again, yes, people have been holding XRP for 2 years. 2 years is not a long time, guys and girls, in the scheme of things, right? It's not a long time to hold an investment. Look at Yahoo, look at Google, look at Facebook, look at YouTube, look at Instagram. These things were around, a long time ago. Facebook, 2004, YouTube, 2005, Instagram, 2010, Google, 98, Yahoo. It took years for these things, to go, to $1,000 or $2,000. Amazon. How long did it take Amazon, which used to be a book company, to get to where it is now? People lose faith with XRP, but they've only been holding XRP for 2 years. Investments take longer when the technology is completely unknown and to the novice is complex. The novice does not understand the technology. Remembering only 1% of people in the world invest in crypto, and less than that invest in Ripple and XRP, right? /XRP. The novices don't understand the technology, and then you have all this negativity around the place, right? So it makes sense. They push up everything else that's garbology, but the stuff that should be going up actually goes down. You have to keep faith. 2 years is not long for any investment, okay? Any investment. As you can see by this, right? It takes a long time. This was over a period of what? 30 years, 25 years, right? Instagram was in 2010. I only heard about Instagram 2 years ago. And people have to realize it takes a long time for something to be understood and for the value to be where it should be, right? People can see the price, but they don't understand how to value something. And that's where we're at with XRP, right? And 2 years, 3 years is not long enough, right? It's just not. And the more complex the technology is, the more people don't understand it. And the more they don't understand it, the more they understand the price, but they don't understand how to value it. And it's just that simple, okay? So, things take longer than 2 years. We go to, Netflix again. Now, have you ever heard of Netflix back in, I didn't, in 2009, 2010. 10 years ago, I didn't know about Netflix, right? I do now. I think the stock's even higher than this now, right? They're doing more and more subscriptions every day, but I didn't know about Netflix, right? 10 years ago. I didn't even know about Google maybe 10 years ago, right? Takes time, man. Everything takes time. People used to use a search engine called Expedia. I didn't even use Google, back here in 91, 92, 99, right? These things take time. Facebook, I was reluctant to use Facebook. I hated it and I still do a bit. But again, it takes time, man. I remember using spreadsheets, VisiCal. God, that takes me back. Yeah, I'm an old bag, crypto grandma. And I've said this before, pre-1987 was VisiCal. Then we had SuperCalc. These are like, Excel, right? this was, I'm sure I used Supercalc in 1987. Don't quote me on exact time references, guys, for heaven's sakes. But, I remember Lotus 123 in 1992 or 93, and all us dealers were using Lotus, and there was a huge reluctance to go to Excel, because we had all these things in Lotus, right? And Lotus was huge, and we didn't want to go to Excel. And again, this is the same with the technology of Ripple. There's a reluctance because it's too hard to move everything, to change everything, right? It takes time. Again, we had different browsers, man. I used to use Netscape in the 90s, I think. Again, there was all these different browsers, right? Again, the internet. Even I noticed here, Opera. I only just started using Opera the last couple of years, and yet, look, it's been around since 2005. I'm just saying things take time. Now, the thing is with technology, it's going to take a lot. It's going to be a lot quicker. We know that. It will be quicker than what it's been, in previous times, and, we know that, a lot of the world is unbanked, okay? And a lot of the world have mobiles, right? So certainly with cryptocurrency like XRP, that can settle instantly, the world and the billions, will start, will eventually be using it rather than currency, okay? But I'm saying that, that mainstream will take, could take another 2 to 5 years at least. An investment for 2 years is not very long, particularly when there are a lot of dissenters out there always showing the negatives of XRP because they don't understand the technology, right? And even to the reporters, right? Even the people, and, a lot of the people that say this stuff, right? And again, if we look at currency, and I've mentioned this before, thousands of years of history of world reserve currencies, different decades, the current, there were stronger currencies, right? The US dollar going forward will not always be the strong currency. Now, if we look at history, and I've mentioned this before, right? In the 1400s, it was Portugal, Portugal, right? And then in Spain, we had the Spanish currency, right? Then we had the Netherlands in the 1600s. Then we had the French, in 1720 to 1815. I love this chart. It's awesome, man. Then we had the British, from 1815 to 1920. And then we had the US, right? But this is time for a change, This is seriously, currencies last for about 100 years or so. And then there's going to be another change, gold, XRP, okay? Currencies change. They're not always going to be the number one currency. And with what the US is doing, selling and selling and selling more and more currency by issuing and printing more paper, it is not sustainable for the currency to stay at 107 against the yen. Someone asked me on my YouTube, if you keep printing more paper, more and more paper, right, more and more, there's more supply. There's more supply, the price goes down, okay? It's just that simple. Yes, someone said, Trump can keep printing more and more money, or the Federal Reserve. Of course they can. But that's the thing. There's nothing to back it anymore. They keep printing more money, and what's behind it? There's no assets behind it, okay? Nothing. Not even gold. So, if you keep printing more and more supply, the price goes down until the US dollar becomes valueless, right? And something else takes its place, whether it be gold, whether it be XRP, okay? Again, there's been stories about XRP replacing the US dollar. All the authorities know about XRP, right? They don't understand the Ripple technology, but they know it's pretty amazing. The regulators know about XRP, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the authorities, the Fed, the central banks, and yet we have all this negativity about Ripple and XRP. Now, why? Because people don't understand the technology, and they have a vested interest to put out all this negativity with XRP, okay? A vested interest, and that's a fact. because XRP has 1.7 million of holders, 1.7 million, and it gets mileage, right? Gets mileage. You know, you get on the YouTube, you get subscribers, all this sort of stuff, right? People listen to it, okay? That's a fact, right? Now, you know, 2 years is not long. That's a fact. You know, patience, 5 years, as this says, right? And thank you, XRP patient, right? It ain't long for any investment. Again, Ripple and XRP, their ecosystem's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Massive. There's a huge multiplier effect, right? One client has thousands and millions of clients, thousands and then millions, right? Thousands and millions. MoneyGram, thousands and millions, right? Citigroup, thousands and millions. One client, MoneyGram, Citigroup, millions. And again, it goes on and on. The technology is incredible. It's a fact, right? The banks, no other cryptocurrency has the technology of Ripple. Or the banks don't have it. No one can compete with Ripple. Stellar is not, you know, in competition with Ripple. They don't have the technology, the hardware or the network, okay? XRP can provide global liquidity, right? Which is different to volume. It's liquid, not like other thousands of cryptocurrencies that are not liquid, okay? That's a fact, you know, and it's not encumbered by toxic assets like the US dollar is, right? There's trillions of dollars of assets that need liquidity, that are not encumbered, okay? You know, again, Ripple, XRP, it is my belief that will be the standard, right? Because the technology can settle within 3 seconds, right? And it's liquid. So the question is, why does an XRP go up? And I think we've answered this. Because number one, it takes time. People do not understand the technology. And because they have a lot of holders, there's people out there that want to keep putting it down to get mileage and to get, you know, press and to get views, right? Also, it's what I said. People know the price of everything, but they know the value of nothing. And we've seen that in other markets as well, okay? Where there can be absolute mispricing of something. And I've certainly seen that in other markets over the 30 odd years I've been working in financial markets, okay? Mispricing in markets, even professional markets, I've seen it. And XRP is mispriced. It is way too cheap, which creates a massive opportunity. People know the price of XRP, but they don't understand the value or how to value it, okay? You know, circulating supply, right? People go, oh, the circulating supply is too much. But you know what? Even if we're talking 100 billion, we're talking $250 trillion problem of liquidity. 100 billion versus 250 trillion. Get real, you know, and it's not about market cap. There are a lot of negativities with market cap, right? It's only a third of the balance sheet or a quarter. Two cryptocurrencies can have the same market cap, you know, volume, you know, by price, what's on issue, but you're not even looking at the debt, right? You know, one cryptocurrency could have massive debt or contingents or legal stuff behind or whatever, and the other one may not. They are not the same, okay? They're not the same. You know, the crypto market and the business world doesn't understand the technology of Ripple, right? You know, it can't be influenced by whales because it has 1.7 million, you know, holders. You know, regulators, you know, the regulation, you know, the US doesn't know what it's doing about regulation. Some people think XRP is a security when it's not, right? XRP, and, you know, XRP has an incredible ecosystem. again, people don't know how to price it, right? Simple. They don't understand the technology, so they don't know how to price it. All they think is there's a lot of volume. But the thing is, there isn't a lot of volume when you look at the liquidity and what XRP is trying to do when we have a world that needs liquidity, and there's a world of 250 trillion assets or more, plus the derivative market that we haven't even spoken about, right? You know, and it's needed, but people don't understand, right? The early adopters in this market haven't generally got a clue, okay? And that's a fact. So what do we need here? We need more education, okay? That's a fact. You know, we need, you know, crypto to go mainstream. But not only that, we need XRP, understanding of Ripple's technology to go mainstream, so that people and professionals understand how to value it, right? Not the price of it, but how to value it. It takes time. You can't have something, you know, happening within 2 or 3 years, right? These things, new technology always takes time. You know, it could take 5 years, but it takes time because the technology is complex and people don't understand it. And what people do when they don't understand it, they just put it down, right? Okay? You know, knowledge, right? Knowledge. Also, there's dissenters against it, because if the banks lose their market share and lose the way they take out fees and everything else, their revenues are going to come down, right? Also, it's easier to put XRP down when there's so many other scams out there, because, you know, they don't understand the technology of XRP, okay? You know, I believe it's worth the risk. It's about education and people understanding the technology of XRP. It's just that simple, and to understand how to value this particular asset rather than just looking at price, okay? All right, guys, I hope this helps. Just, it's really food for thought. But, you know, again, people know the price of everything and they know the value of nothing. Thank you. Thank you for listening.